I need to let you know this service, this message today will be in two parts. And so there may be a change somewhere around the middle point of the sermon. So don't think this is going to be totally linear. There'll be linear and then it'll break and then there'll be linear again. So 2 weeks ago, I spoke to you about the movie The Wizard of Oz on the 86th anniversary of its premiere, albeit in a small town in Wisconsin. In that message, the focus was upon the subtext of the social implications derived from the symbolism found in the movie and their relevance to people in the early 20th century and those dealing with the Great Depression. We learned that L. Frank Baum, the author of The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, could not explain the story and said that it poured out of his mind and he still didn't understand where it came from. Though the movie is different from the Oz stories, it conveys something that speaks to human nature and society. It reaches into an unconscious place where our thoughts express themselves differently and reaches us through symbols and metaphors. The movie is like that. It's a good story, but it goes deeper than most stories for children. The story is mostly taken from a dream. The story is centered on the unconscious mind. Dorothy Gale of Kansas is trying to understand the conflicts that are present in her life and some of the people she trusts who care about her. In this regard, the movie is like many religious texts, including the Bible. I believe with Carl Jung that much of religion is not about history, but about the unconscious mind breaking through the purely rational to reveal the parts of our human existence through magical story and symbol, a truth that our logical thinking cannot understand. This is a world that is primitive to us. It is a place where witches and talking scarecrows and lions exist. It is our internal story, sometimes expressed in fantastic images. I have had some dreams that were like parts of The Wizard of Oz. I even had a dream that began with glorious technicolor, like the movie does, and then I had to see somebody in heaven who was depressed, and it went totally to black and white. The images were reversed, but it felt like The Wizard of Oz. I can only interpret such things as religious. They reveal a psychological and spiritual truth. For example, the beginning and ending of Dorothy's time in her dream. Something never made sense about the story. If all Dorothy had to do to return to Kansas was click her heels, then why did Glinda, the good witch of the North, make her go through dealing with the wicked witch of the West? She could have done that sooner. There's something hidden in that story. and she nearly faced death with her companions. Who was satisfied with Dorothy's response to when Glinda asked her at the end, "What did you learn?" "I've never been satisfied with this ending." She says, "Well, I think that it wasn't just enough to want to see Uncle Henry and Auntie Em, and that if I ever go looking for my heart's desire again, I won't look any further than my own backyard, because if it isn't there, isn't here, I never really lost it to begin with." Now, in a comedy variety show in the 1990s, Dorothy is told that she always had the power to return to Kansas, and she becomes furious with Glinda, who made her risk her life over those shoes and that simplistic message. And Dorothy beats her up. This part of the story doesn't make sense unless one remembers the first question that Glinda posed to Dorothy. Are you a good witch or a bad witch? Dorothy denies that she is a witch at all. What if, just what if, Glinda was right? What if Dorothy does not know that she really is a witch? What if this story is about Dorothy embracing her power and taking on a heroic journey, defeating incredible obstacles? Joseph Campbell's work, The Hero with 1,000 Faces, tells us a narrative similar to the movie The Wizard of Oz. He writes, "The hero's adventure begins in the ordinary world. He must depart from the ordinary world when he receives a call to adventure. With the help of a mentor, the hero will cross a guarded threshold, leading him to a supernatural world where familiar laws and order do not apply. There the hero will embark on a road of trials, where he is tested along the way. The archetypal hero is sometimes assisted by allies. As the hero faces the ordeal, he encounters the greatest challenge of the journey. Upon rising to the challenge, the hero will receive a reward or boon. Campbell's theory of the monomyth continues with the inclusion of a metaphorical death and resurrection. The hero must then decide to return with this boon to the ordinary world. The hero then faces more trials on the road back. Upon the hero's return, the boon or gift may be used to improve the hero's ordinary world." I believe that this applies to Dorothy. One of the central themes of Campbell's analysis, based upon Jungian thought, is the recognition in myth that the hero often confronts evil and rejects it. Jung cited the temptation of Jesus by the devil in the biblical narrative, and Jesus rejects the power and the influence of the devil. Similarly, Dorothy must confront the wicked witch, reject and overcome her, even if by accident. Glinda is behind all of this. She put the ruby slippers on Dorothy's feet, we suppose, to grant her the ability to take the hero's journey. It is also possible that the ruby slippers are designed to go to whoever killed the witch who wore them before. That's another possible interpretation. Maybe, though, the reason that the ruby slippers held their magic was that because Dorothy was powerful, like a witch. At the end of her time in Oz, Dorothy clicks her heels and returns to Kansas. Is it possible that the reason the wicked witch could not remove the ruby slippers is that they were magical only on a witch's feet? Even in the end, Dorothy uses the magic of the slippers to return to Kansas. perhaps with some help from Glinda. Dorothy gathered good and loyal companions who believed that she gave them a better opportunity for life. She confronted flames and wicked magic. She confronted a lion and befriended him. She offered hope to those who felt weak. In terms of Oz, maybe she was a witch. Maybe she needed to take the hero's journey. Campbell's hero is a creature of myth. Yes, yet this is part of our lives too. Some of us have faced trial, taken a mentor, rejected evil or negative ways, made allies or friends who helped us, and brought something from this experience to benefit others. The hero's journey is a grander telling of the stories than many ordinary but truly extraordinary people like us have lived. We are not King Arthur or Jesus or Buddha, but heroism resides among us and others who lead seemingly ordinary lives. The heroic is among us, whether known or unknown, and we should be grateful that heroes walk among us. Understanding the world of myth makes us look at characters and objects as symbols, something or someone other than what or who is represented. 2 weeks ago, Dorothy's companions were presented as representing aspects of American society during the Great Depression. The scarecrow is the agricultural sector, the Tin Man is industry, and the lion is government. And the Wizard of Oz. I intentionally omitted the Wizard of Oz from that message 2 weeks ago. The Wizard of Oz in the movie represents religion. Why do I think that? What evidence is there for that? One has to look for clues. When Dorothy and her companions proceed down the long corridor to meet the wizard, the ceiling has Gothic arches. Yes, Gothic arches are found in many structures. After all, we know that many universities are designed and styled in collegiate Gothic, but they're most often in the United States, most commonly found in churches. Similarly, behind the phantasmal disembodied head of the wizard are found rectangular beams arching toward one long beam. They resemble, if you've ever seen it, the organ pipes found behind the central pulpits in many church buildings. If you ever look at it, you'll realize, oh, there it is. And then there's the initial image of the Wizard of Oz as an angry man with flames shooting into the air. His face is all that is seen, and he does not smile, but he judges. He speaks to the scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the lion, insulting them all and threatening them. The three of them are terrified, and they cower in fear. You've got to love Dorothy, because when she looks down on the lion shaking with fear, she moves closer to the image of the wizard and shouts, "You ought to be ashamed of yourself, frightening him like that when he came to you for help." You ought to be ashamed of yourself, frightening him like that when he came to you for help. So often that is what religion does. Earlier, she had introduced herself to the wizard as Dorothy, the small and meek. Meek is a word that is most commonly remembered in English from the Bible verse from the Gospel according to Matthew that states, "Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth." The other best known reference for the word meek is probably the old hymn, that some of us might have heard in our previous religious groups. Gentle Jesus, meek and mild. As people in the 1930s were more religiously literate in Christianity, it seems likely that they caught the reference more ably than we might in our time. Dorothy is telling us that she's in a place where religion is understood. She recognizes the symbols. She understands that the wizard is godlike. Yet her brave assertion, "You ought to be ashamed of yourself," frightening him like that when he came to you for help, is confronting the most common forms of religion and tells them that they are not helping the world when they wish to instill fear into people rather than hope and support. She is confronting most religion when it is with its frequent references to hell and judgment, rather than giving people the encouragement they can be good and overcome their challenges. She is condemning religion that causes people to believe that they are helpless and bad. Unfortunately, this is the way that religion functions in many places. It dispenses fear of sin and does not offer the possibility that people can overcome it, with the possible exception of strict obedience to religious dogma and religious leaders. Fear becomes a way to control people rather than to empower them. One of my colleagues in the Unitarian Universalist ministry, Charles Foreman, was also a professor of Hebrew at a college in the Boston area. He used to despair when people quoted the verse from Proverbs chapter 9, verse 10, as the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the holy is the beginning of understanding. He pointed out that it was a mistranslation, and the passage should read, "The awe of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom." This difference changes everything. Fear is not that which grants us wisdom, but awe and wonder at the universe and love for it. When we encourage people to find the beauty in life, we invite them to see it in the world and to express love to all. When we encourage others to fear, then they rely on their defense impulses and react to the world rather than embracing it. That is the difference, perhaps, between the image of God and religion that is frightening in Dorothy's first encounter with the wizard. Toto later exposes the wizard as just a man behind a curtain, frightening people with insults, fire, and threats. This kind of religion controls people, but it does not give them belief in themselves or the deep joy that comes with genuine encounters with the beauty of the earth and her people. The wizard is found to be a fraud, but then becomes genuine. He does not have real magical powers, but does have the power to bring out what is best in those who feel challenged. He points out to him that the scarecrow is intelligent. He tells the tin men that he is loving. He awards the lion a medal for his courage. He is acknowledging to them that they already have the intelligence, love, and courage to find their way. It's in them. They just need to acknowledge it. They are not weak persons, but blessed with powerful abilities. They can resolve problems. They just need to be sure of themselves. There is no strain in our Unitarian or Universalist or Unitarian Universalist faith that has ever been like the first presentation of the Wizard of Oz. Our faith tradition's heritage has never emphasized fear of God. However, there is a little bit of the second presentation of the wizard that does speak to who we are and who we have been. Our Unitarian tradition has always believed that humans are intelligent enough to read texts and come to their own thoughts about them. Our Universalist heritage emphasizes God's love for us so much that it calls us to love one another as much as God does. Both our religious heritages before the merger and since have encouraged us to take actions that speak to reason and love. May we individually and collectively live these aspects of our faith tradition. May this congregation ever be a place of reason, love, and courage. May our church strengthen each of us and our people grow in ministry together. May we always think of this faith community and ever say gratefully, there is no place like home. So be it. Blessed be. Amen. I now invite you to stand as your will.